You know, in hindsight, I think I understand why this trilogy is so popular. But at the time that it was happening, I definitely didn't understand. Batman starts. Batman Begins. So Batman Begins is the first movie in what is known as the Dark Knight Trilogy, which is the series of Batman films that started in 2005 and ended in 2012. It was directed by Christopher Nolan and starred Christian Bale as Batman. This is also known as the best Batman movies ever made, which that may be true, but the only reason I would agree with such a statement is because I don't like any of the other Batman movies. I mean, this one, Batman Begins, is like the only Batman movie that I legitimately enjoy, and I've got a lot of problems with it. Let's get started. So, first things first, Christian Bale as Batman. He plays a phenomenal Bruce Wayne. He is smart, he is clever, he's charming, he's witty, and he's quick-thinking. You know, it's hard to get the drop on this version of Bruce Wayne, except for when it's not. Now, the movie is told through a series of flashbacks as well as the present story because it's a Christopher Nolan film and he just can't help himself. He has to tell the story at least a little bit out of order. So, while he's like getting ready to become Batman, you're seeing a lot of like his life as a kid, like where he's, you know, talking to his dad before he gets killed, or talking to Rachel, who's his made-up love interest for this movie, or he's falling into a bat cave and finding out that that's his motif, or he's training in Nanda Parbat with Ra's al Ghul, which is strange to me. Why is Batman training with the League of Assassins? Or I guess it's the League of Shadows here, but it's just weird to me because, like, if I did this right, then this video is coming out shortly after my Spider-Man review. I mentioned how that movie leaned very heavily towards its own source material and did not seem to be ashamed of being based on a comic book. Well, this movie is the opposite, because for as much as Bat fans love to wank how many martial arts he knows, how long his training process was, how many different schools he went to, how many different things he mastered to become Batman, none of that is in this movie. He goes to a place, trains in a little bit of mixed martial arts, mostly trains to become an assassin, comes back to the mainland and becomes Batman. Like, Bruce Wayne trained for like 8 to 10 years, depending on what mythology you're looking at. You don't get that out of this Bruce Wayne, right? And it's weird because, like, he's recruited into training because he's going on this, like, journey of self-discovery and he got himself in trouble, and then Ra's al Ghul just comes and finds him. And I'm just like, okay. Ra's al Ghul is played by Liam Neeson in this movie, by the way. I'm not gonna call whitewashing because this is a 15-year-old movie, but it is kind of strange. That's all I'm gonna say. So the basic thing, or the biggest thing that I have, like my main issue with this trilogy, you can now see my Goku Black wallpaper in my glasses probably. My biggest problem with this trilogy is that Batman is a hypocrite about killing, and it really frustrates me. Because so far, the only live-action, big screen Batman to not kill anybody is fucking George Clooney. And, like, Christian Bale's Batman is the one that makes the biggest deal about not killing people. And he's a hypocrite about it. In his training, like, to graduate, he has to execute a traitor or something of that nature. And he's like, I'm no executioner. But it's like, well, I mean, you knew this was a group of assassins. So, what did you expect? And so, to make his grand, like, departure from the League of Shadows, he sets the monastery on fire to cause a diversion so he can leave. And I'm like, people died in that fire, Bruce. Did you go back and save that prisoner that you didn't want to kill? No? He probably burned to death, Bruce. But I thought you were no executioner. You gave him a more painful death than he would have gotten had you just killed him. But over on the Gotham side of things, here's the plot of the movie. Here's the story. So you got Batman busting up crime, right? But then you've also got Scarecrow, and he's Scarecrow, so he's using his fear toxin on people. And then Ra's al Ghul approaches him, and he's like, "Hey, what if we take this fear toxin and we spread it across the entirety of Gotham?" I don't really know why. Maybe it's to cause civil unrest, political unrest, so that Gotham will devolve into a pit of chaos, or maybe it's a test to see if they can do this at large. And even then, I still don't really know what that would be for. Ra's al Ghul's motives in the past have been kind of all over the place. I mean, there has been times where he's wanted to wipe out humanity because he thinks we screwed up, or there's been times where he just wants to have Bruce take over the League of Assassins for him, or there's been times where he just wants to fuck with Bruce, or there's been times where, like, he wants to assert dominance by destroying something, or he wants to hold the world's money hostage to prove how savage mankind is. Ra's al Ghul has a lot of philosophies and ideologies about mankind. I don't really know what he was after in this movie, especially because The Dark Knight Rises comes along later and makes things even more complicated. Now, I'm going to be honest with you, I'm reviewing this movie from memory, as I've reviewed a lot of movies from memory, but I cannot actually think of what Ra's al Ghul's actual plot here is, or Ra's al Ghul. I should also talk about the dummy Ra's al Ghul. In Bruce's training, he believes he's training under someone named Ra's al Ghul, and it's just like this old Asian man. But it turns out to not be the actual Ra's al Ghul, and Liam Neeson is. And so it's like, well, what? Him being... I get that you wouldn't want Bruce to know that he's training under Ra's al Ghul initially, but you could just say that Ra's, like, died a long time ago, and, like, you're just carrying on his legacy or something like that. You don't need to have a fake Ra's al Ghul. You know what I mean? But the plan is to dump the fear toxin into Gotham's water system, which is kind of like a Joker thing to do, honestly. And then put this microwave-emitting device on a train that will run through the city and vaporize all the water in the pipes and release the fear toxin all over the place. So anybody that would have been using a humidifier, or that would have been boiling water for like a late night cup of tea or something like that, or anybody that was just taking a really steamy shower, I guess they didn't get affected by it. I don't know. But Batman does a couple of strange things in the sequence. A, he gives the Batmobile to Gordon to use, which I don't even like this Batmobile that much, but that's not even the main thing. He goes into Arkham with a bunch of bats. Don't really know why. And then he releases everybody that's in Arkham. I don't know if he's causing a distraction, but he just made the police's job a lot harder, because now they have to go get all the Arkham inmates and put them back where they belong. And he has Gordon blow out the supports for the railroad system so that the train is going to crash. Instead of, like, deactivating the microwave emitter, which he had full view of when he got to the train that Ra's al Ghul was on. Because Ra's al Ghul was like, oh, ugh. So he sends in 2 guys, and Batman's like, you think I can't beat 2 of your pods? And so he puts in 2 more, and it's like, Bruce, could you stop stroking your ego for, like, just a moment and just deal with the situation at hand? Maybe just throw one of your batarang things at the microwave emitter, see if that works. Or maybe if you had done something at your house party earlier, because there's a scene where he has a house party, and then he realizes that Ra's al Ghul is there, and he's like, okay, I need to get everybody out. So he starts acting like an ass to let everybody leave his house. And then he just stands there as Ra's al Ghul sets his house on fire. I don't know why. I don't know. No, everyone left. Everyone left his house because they think he's drunk, he's an asshole. They left. I don't know. I don't know. So yeah, he lets his house get burned down. A big beam falls on him. Alfred has to help it off of him, which he's played by Michael Caine. So I don't really know exactly how strong you're trying to say Michael Caine's Alfred is, but he helps him lift the beam off of him. And then they go after Ra's al Ghul. So he's just... The situation that Batman is in now is completely his own fault. He could have prevented this a good amount of time ago, and then he just didn't. So he has the supports destroyed, and Ra's al Ghul is on this train. So when it crashes, he's going to die, and he's like, "I don't have to kill you," or "No, I'm not gonna kill you, but I don't have to save you." So he leaves, and then Ra's al Ghul fucking dies, and I'm just like, you know. If you put someone in a situation where the only thing that can happen is that they're going to die, and then you don't get them out of that situation, and then they die, you killed them, you know? I was going to use an example that if you set someone's house on fire, and then you don't go in there and get them out, and they burn to death, you killed them. But I mean, that's kind of what Bruce did earlier in the movie, isn't it? Now, all of the Bruce Wayne, Joe Chill stuff at towards the beginning of the movie, I really enjoyed that. But and I do like the first Batman scene where he goes out and he's doing his Batman thing. It's like I actually don't even remember the sequence, but it's like, don't worry, you know what? Don't worry about it. I'm bad at things. I know that I said that like this is the only Batman movie that I really like, and it seems like I didn't really. Because I don't like that they took my favorite Batman villain, which is Scarecrow, and made him someone's underling. I think Scarecrow is a strong enough villain to carry his own story. I don't think he needs to work for anyone. I don't think he needs to be taking orders from anyone. And I don't think he needs to be servicing anyone else's grand plan. I don't like that. And then the next movies that came after only diminished his role even further. He became less of an interesting character. He had less agency going forward. Because he got dosed with his own fear toxin. So I guess he just went perma-crazy. He just... full crazy. And I know he was already crazy, but he went crazier. You know? Instead of being the all-terrible god of fear, he was just some crazy dude dealing drugs in the next movie. But yeah, I know it seems like I don't like this movie, even though I said it's the only one that I do like. It's a complicated situation with these Batman movies, dude. They all seem to miss something. You know, I'm really hoping that the Batman next year has all of the elements to Batman that I look for, that I care about, but we'll see what happens with that. Next time, though, actually, I do kind of want to review a bunch of old, like, superhero movies. So do you want me to keep reviewing superhero movies, or do you want me to go ahead and keep going on Pixar? Because I probably have the Toy Story review out by now. If not, hound me about it in the comments. I'll get it out. But, yeah. Oh, I didn't rate it, did I? I guess Batman Begins was worth the price of admission back in 2005. I mean, I've only seen it like 6 times in the 15 years it's been out. I just don't think it's very good, but I mean, it's fine. It's fine. I don't know. But yeah, that's it. I know you'll probably be mad at me. If you're a diehard fan of this trilogy, you probably didn't even make it this far in the video. That's completely fine. But I'll see you soon. I promise.